Hello and welcome back to Redemption and Rhythm, where healing meets harmony. You know, sometimes the songs I write don't start with a melody or a lyric. They start with a real conversation. And that's what I want to talk about today. Because I was talking with a friend recently. He's a good friend of mine. He's a business owner, a family man, and someone I deeply respect. And we were catching up about life, faith, and how God works in his own time, not ours, right? He began to share with me what he went through during the COVID season. His business, like so many others, was taking a hit after hit after hit, and customers were disappearing, suppliers were closing, and every day it seemed like more bad news was coming in. And like any of us would, he prayed. He asked God to move in his life, to ease his worry, to help him provide for his family, and to show him a way forward. And God's response to him were two simple words: be still. Now that sounds peaceful when you first hear it, but when your world is collapsing, when payroll's due, when the bills are piling up, be still doesn't really feel like much of an action plan. So he did what most of us would do. He worked harder, he strategized, he adjusted his costs, he looked for new clients, explored new revenue streams, and through it all, he kept praying. But God's answer stayed the same. So time went on, and things only seemed to get harder. He loved his employees. He felt deep sense of responsibility for them. And when he had to cut hours or saw people leaving to find other work, it really did crush him. And again, he prayed, desperate for his guidance. And God said once more, be still. Finally, he hit a breaking point. He told me he got angry at God. He said, fine, Lord, you want me to give up? You want me to be still? Then it's on you. My family, my business, my employees, I've done everything I can. I've trusted you. I've had faith. And all you've said to me is be still. So I'm done. It's all yours. And wouldn't you know it, that's when God started to move. The phone rang, new deals came in, suppliers returned calls. The business began to turn around quickly. See, it wasn't until he surrendered, until he let go of control, that God began to show what he had been working on all along. Wow, right? That story stuck with me. And it gets cooler. The next day, I was watching The Chosen, one of my favorite TV series. And in this particular episode, they focused on Philip, who was an architect whose world was literally collapsing. He was frustrated, angry, and confused. There's a scene where he was sitting under the fig tree and he prayed, much like my friend did, but heaven was silent. So Philip shouted, burn these blueprints, and just fell into this despair. What he didn't know was that God had a bigger plan, one that required Philip to first be still and trust. And as I was watching that scene, it just kind of clicked for me. God isn't silent because he's absent. Sometimes he's quiet because he's waiting for us to stop striving long enough to listen. And I have a hard time with listening, believe me. But that night, I couldn't shake the connection between those two moments. My friend's surrender and Philip's silence. And somewhere in the quiet, this new song began to take shape. So, Be Still, this song, it came straight from those two stories. And honestly, from my own moments of trying to control outcomes that only God could handle. So, the first verse in the song opens with that tension I think we've all felt. I've prayed when the bills were stacking high, when the work dried up and the well ran dry. I begged for your voice, but the heavens stayed still. And I wondered, Lord, if you ever will. You whispered softly through the quiet, be still, my son, be still. That lyric sums up so much of our walk with God, that longing for the answers, and yet the whisper that tells us to rest. And then later on in this song, you'll hear a line that says, I thought faith was fighting. I thought strength was to stand, but you showed me surrender is part of your plan. Now that was the real revelation for me. That surrender is not weakness. It's the ultimate act of faith. It says, God, I trust you even when I don't understand you. And by the end of the song, when the storm finally calms, that surrender turns into gratitude. Listen, be still when the storm rolls in. Be still when you're starting again. I gave it all up and you carried me through. Now every breath I've got belongs to you. If you're listening today and you feel like your world is shaking, maybe your business is struggling, maybe your family's in turmoil, or maybe you just don't know what's next, I really want you to hear this. God hasn't forgotten you. He's not ignoring you. Sometimes he's just saying, be still. Because the moment we stop fighting to control the storm, he starts to calm it. How cool is that? So wherever you are today, take a deep breath. Let go and trust that even in the silence, God is moving. Here's my song, Be Still. I hope it brings you peace and maybe a little bit of perspective on the storms you're walking through. Enjoy.
I prayed when the bills were stacking high, when the work dried up and the well ran dry. I begged for your voice, but the heavens stayed still. And I wondered, Lord, if you ever will. You whispered softly through the quiet, be still, my son, be still. Be still when the ground gives way. Be still when there's nothing left to say. I tried to fix what I should have let go, till my strength ran out and I lost control. You said be still, and you held me there until the storm inside was calm and still. Be still. I told you, Lord, it's all in your hands. If it all falls apart, I'll still stand. Laid down my pride, my plans, my home, and I found peace I'd never known. Through every tear, you were whispering still. Be still, my son. Be still. I thought faith was fighting, I thought strength was to stand, but you showed me surrender is part of your plan. You waited for me till I laid it all down, then you lifted me up, turned it all around. Be still when the storm rolls in. Be still when you're starting again. I gave